Hello, everyone. My name is David Vavra, and today I will talk about Android CI/CD, continuous integration and delivery. I will give you some introduction into GitHub Actions and Kotlin script, and in the second part of the talk, I will show you how we use it at JIRA for really like complex workflows with Slack, JIRA, Firebase, and stuff like that. So during my talk, you can ask questions on Slido. There is a hashtag DCPy, so you can ask questions during the talk, and at the end, I will go through the questions which have most votes. So let's start. I am based in Prague, in Czech Republic. I'm Google Developer Expert for Android Play and Pay. I work at JLL, and I also have my own app called Settle Up. And currently, I'm also helping with Aerouška, which is COVID-19 exposure notifications app for Czechia, which is a big deal right now. And let's start with the presentation. So why to use continuous integration and delivery at all, right? Like when you are just starting simple project, you are doing everything manually. So what are the benefits in general? So I think the biggest benefit is predictable releases, because you don't want to build your production APK on your personal machine, because your environment is not stable and it can impact the build. Also, like if you have multiple developers, every developer have different machine, so you want predictable environment for building the final APKs. Security is also important. You don't want to distribute your private keys for releases to each machine of each developer. You want it to have securely on a server, and only the CI/CD should do the final build. As your project grows, automation is really important. Like you will be doing releases every week or 2 weeks, and like you don't want to do all of this manually. It's a lot of work which you can spend coding and improving your app. CI/CD is also important for tests. If you have it configured that the CI/CD runs the tests, you have more motivation to actually write the tests, and it will be part of your workflow and not something on the side. And it can also help you with code reviews on pull requests. It can run a lot of automated checks. So you can focus in code review only for the important stuff and not for like lint issues and that the code cannot be built and stuff like that. So that's in general. And now let's talk about GitHub Actions. It's a quite new CI/CD made by GitHub itself. And I really fell in love with it. So I want to tell you why I like it. So it's really easy to configure. You just push a configuration file, this YAML, into any GitHub repo and it just starts working. That's it. What I really like is the pricing. So right now the pricing is 2,000 minutes per month for free, and even for private repositories, which is basically free for most of the use cases, unless you are running something every hour or something, then you will not reach this limit. So for most people, it's free, and that's great. You don't need to set up any servers. Yeah. And another great benefit is that there is a huge marketplace of like open source actions done by others. So you can use them in your workflows. So you don't need to write most of the stuff because somebody else wrote it for you. And it's also really easy to publish your own actions. It's just like you will clone this repo and change it, and anyone else can just reference your repo in their workflow. They have some images which are running the workflows. We are using mostly the Ubuntu. And they have a lot of stuff pre-installed for Android development, so you don't have to install most of the stuff. It's already there, which speeds the build. They also have macOS machines, mostly for iOS, and you can also do self-hosted runners on like your own machine. And the only con, I think, is that you cannot use it if you are hosting the code somewhere else, like on Bitbucket or somewhere else, which sucks. But I think GitHub is great, and it's another advantage why you should migrate to GitHub with your code hosting. So let's do a quick introduction into GitHub Actions. So this is really basic workflow. So you just push this file, this YAML file, into this path .github/workflows. Here you name what it does, just for you. And this part, it says the triggers, like how it's triggered. So this is triggered on every push to every branch in your repository. Here you specify the image where you run it. So we are running in Ubuntu. And here are the steps of the workflow. So first we check out the code, and then we set up Java JDK 1.8 because Android needs it. These are our actions made by GitHub. And now here we build the app. So we just run gradle command assemble debug. So this simple workflow will ensure that like every commit everywhere will be checked that it doesn't break the build. And you can set up on pull request that it cannot be merged unless this is successful. So it will ensure that all the code pushed can be built, which is really good. Now let's. I will also talk about Kotlin script. So in this workflows, you usually start with Bash scripting, but I also started with Bash scripts. But as it grew complex, I was really struggling with Bash because I'm not that familiar with that language. I think most of the Android guys are not. So Bash is great for like a simple script where you just say like several commands after each other. But when you want to do like more complex logic, I think some high-level language is needed. And because we are Android developers, we already know Kotlin. So why not use Kotlin for scripting? And Kotlin has a built-in scripting support. And there is also this tool called KScript, which is built by the community, and it will enable you to do awesome stuff. Like you will just put this at the beginning of the file, and then you can just run this from command line like any other script. You don't need to set up any like IntelliJ projects or like anything like that. It's really simple, and you can use any Kotlin code you want. EMEA has a support for it, so you have code completion, everything. Just one file, nothing else. Just like any other scripting language. It also supports dependencies. So for example, if you want to use something like coroutines in your script, you can do so. You can just write dependencies here, and like before you run the script, it downloads the dependencies, does everything for you. So it's really nice. And how to integrate a KScript in a GitHub Actions workflow. So there is some setup. It's not installed in the image, so you have to install it yourself. It's using this SDK man. So you just install this SDK man, and then you install Kotlin, you install KScript, and then you can run the script like this. Just launch it from command line. Okay, so this was the introduction, and main part of the talk will be showing you how we actually use it in JIRA. We have this app called JIRA. It's a big enterprise app, quite complex, and we have QA team, which is which needs to verify it, and like a lot of stuff. We have JIRA, we have Slack, and everything is integrated. So I will show you 3 use cases. One is our pull request workflow, then our release of QA app, because we have a special app just for the QA team to verify everything, and then production app. So let's start with the pull request workflow. So pull request, the workflow is triggered either by opening new pull request or pushes to existing branch in a pull request. So first it will build the application. If app cannot be built, it will write a comment into the pull request, which looks like this. Then we run unit tests. Again, if it fails, it writes this comment. Then we run lint. We have some custom lint rules which ensure some stuff in our code. If it fails, again, it will write comment. It will also publish artifact with the lint report, so you can easily see what's wrong. And then we are using snapshot tests. Snapshot tests are basically screenshots of various components in the app, and we verify if those screenshots are the same, if we haven't broken anything. So if the screenshots are not the same, there is this message that the screenshot failed. And the script actually pushes these screenshots into different branch, and this link will create like comparison between branches, so you can see what are the differences between like new screenshots and old screenshots. So usually that means it's some error that like you broke something, but not necessarily. Sometimes you actually want the screenshots to change because you implemented some new feature. So then we have this command, like you will write like this string into the command, and it will actually merge this branch with new screenshots into the pull request, and it will run everything again. Hopefully it passes. And then we have this bot which automatically merges pull requests, and it has 2 prerequisites. Everything has to be green here, and also some like other developer has to approve. And if these 2 are valid, it's automatically merged into develop. So this is high level how it works, and now I will show you in a code how it actually looks. So this is the pull request validation workflow. It's triggered if there is a pull request into develop branch. It runs on self-hosted machine. We are actually using a self-hosted machine for this, and the reason is Android emulator. You can run Android emulator also in a cloud-hosted machines, but it starts so slowly and like it's flaky sometimes. So at the end, we decided to use self-hosted. We have Mac Mini in the office, which has Android emulator always on. And before it took 20 minutes on the cloud hosted, now it's just 5 minutes on the self-hosted. So it improved our pull request speed a lot. So I will just go through the steps, check out code. There is some setup for the runner. Then we have script which will extract pull request number from the branch. We are using it in other steps. So you have this ID, and then you can get information from previous steps and use them in other steps. I think it's used here. So this step needs issue number, and we are using steps PR number, outputs PR number, and that means that the pull request number will be as input here. So this step will just build the app, and you can put this if failure, and that means if the previous step failed, something happens. So if the previous step fails, if the build up failed, we post a comment using like API of GitHub here. It looks like this: up build failed, da da da. So this is how you put comment into the pull request. But if this is skipped, if this passed, So if everything is okay, we run unit test. Then if it fails, we upload artifact, like a file which you can download. Unit test generate this this HTML report, which is handy for figuring out what's wrong. And we also comment the pull request again. Same thing with lint. We run lint. Again, artifact, comment. If all of these passes, we publish artifact of the app itself, like the APK, because you want to do this as soon as possible. If something goes wrong elsewhere and you want to publish the APK manually, you want the artifact. So if even there is some bug in this, you want the APK. So now the screenshot test, so it's using instrumentation test. So we build the app for instrumentation test, again, comment if it fails, and then we run the screenshot tests. We are using library from Facebook for that. And if it fails, we have this script which will basically push the new screenshots into separate branch. And we comment the pull request as you saw. And at the end, we always publish the screenshots. So like if you want to do the comparison manually, you can. So always means even if it fails or if it's successful. So we always publish the screenshots. Okay, so that's pull requests. And now let's move to release of QA app. So as I said, we have special QA app for QA to verify everything. And it always goes from develop to QA. And when the QA approves, then it goes from QA to like master branch, which is production. And it's not just the app, but it's also branch in Git. So you can always see what's in master is in production, what's in QA branch, it's in QA, and what's in develop. So we are using Slack commands for starting this. You can create in your Slack workspace this they call it slash commands. So this is the command which is for the building of the QA app. It triggers the GitHub Actions workflow, which actually first pushes develop branch into QA branch. So then it's identical. And with every push to QA branch, it builds the QA app. It generates changelog. So it will generate changelog from last successful build. So QA can see what's new in this QA build. Then it uploads the APK into Firebase App Distribution, so QA people can download it. We have in our commits, we also write JIRA tasks which are related into what's new. So it will move these JIRA tasks into state ready for QA, so QA can start verifying them. And it will also write this changelog nicely formatted into our Slack. It's separated like you see version, and it will, like based on the JIRA task, it will separate improvements from bugs and from technical tasks, and you have links to JIRA here. Afterwards, it will also start end-to-end tests in Firebase Test Lab. End-to-end tests are sometimes flaky, so like we don't want them to block the build. So it's started after the release, but it's a nice tool for QA to verify everything works. And if they pass, there is a message in Slack like this. If they fail, like this, and this is linked to Firebase Test Lab, so you can figure out what's wrong. So again, let's look at the code, how it's implemented. So first part is the Slack commands. So Slack command has some webhooks, which we call actually like part of our backend, which is in Firebase functions, which will verify that like you have permissions to doing this Slack command, because not everybody has permission to do some releases. And when everything is fine, this this Firebase function will call GitHub with this repository dispatch. So this trigger repository dispatch is like manual manual dispatch of the action. So you can also do it manually or via API, and we are using this API. You can specify types, so we specify that this is a Slack command, and it runs this. Yeah, we have some script which will do that. I will not go into details because we are using this Slack commands for multiple things, not just this. But I wanted to show you that it's possible to launch it from this repository dispatch. And what this will do, it will first push the develop into QA, and that will trigger another workflow, this deploy QA app, which is triggered on every push to branch QA. So this is the, yeah. And now I need to talk about this. So we need like a commit of last successful deployment in QA branch to figure out the changelog, right? Like we need to know the previous and to figure out which commits were in between. Some people are using Git tags for it, and we are using something else called deployments. Like GitHub has this feature called deployments, where you basically say like it was deployed from this commit successfully or not successfully and to this URL. And then you can query these deployments using GraphQL. So this is GraphQL query for querying this API of GitHub deployments. And it will tell you like last deployments, last 10 deployments. And from that, we have a script which will tell you like which was the last successful one. Yeah, I want to. Later, I will show you how we will figure out the last successful one, because we are using the Kotlin script for that. So the deployments work that you need to start the deployment, and if anything fails during the action, it will like be failed deployment, otherwise successful. Check out the code, set up JDK, and because we are using Ubuntu here, we also need this step, setup NDK for some reason. We are using cache. GitHub Actions have support for caching, so it's a really good idea to cache like your Gradle caches with all your dependencies, so it doesn't have to download all the dependencies all the time. It will speed up the build. So now the caches are covered, so we build the QA app. We publish the artifact as soon as possible. If something goes wrong, we at least want the APK to install it manually. And then we generate the changelog. And I want to show you the script for generating the changelog, because we are using the Kotlin there. So first we call this bash script, which does some basic processing. It's getting the variables. It installs the Kotlin script, which I showed you before. And this part is actually extracting the last successful deployment hash of the commit using Kotlin script. So we are calling kscript, and I will show you here. So we basically need to parse JSON response from GitHub API, and parsing JSON in Bash is a lot of pain. There are some libraries, but it was hard for me to do. So I just wrote this in Kotlin script, and I just use JSON library, which is well known and easy to use. So normal as in Kotlin, I created these data classes which are in the JSON. I parse them with JSON, and then I could run some. We have some custom logic on what it means the successful deployment, and here I calculated and I just printed. So this is the last deployment, and then we have some setup for JIRA. For JIRA, we are using some CLI, some NPM even. This is like NPM library, JIRA CLI, which we use for interacting with JIRA. So this is some setup for that. And at the end, we call Kotlin script to generate the changelog. Like the changelog is quite complex there, so Kotlin script is great for that. This is how it looks. So we run a command line command for like git between like the last deployment hash and head. So it will tell us all the commits which are new in this release. This is just for debugging. We have some custom logic for if there is a hotfix in a word, it will ignore it. Not important now. Here we will extract JIRA issues from the commits with this regex. If it starts with JDEF and then some numbers, that means it's a JIRA issue. Then we call this JIRA CLI to figure out like a JIRA summary of the issue and JIRA type. And we categorize it into categories like bug, technical, improvement. We also add commits which doesn't have this JDEF stuff. So we also show like issues without JIRAs. We group them, and at the end we generate the changelog from it. So we have two changelogs. One is for Firebase, and one is for Slack. They have slightly different formatting, so that's why we are doing it separately. And at the end, we wrote like output variables of the script like this, and another steps in a workflow can read from this. So if you go back into the workflow, for example, it's upload to Firebase App Distribution. So it's using output of the previous step to write the release notes, steps that generate changelog release notes. We update the status that it's successful, and then we move the JIRA issues. We have another script, but we already know the JIRA issues which from the generate changelog step. And again, at the end, we notify the Slack, and we start the end-to-end test with this repository dispatch, which will basically call GitHub API and do this repository dispatch. We can start the end-to-end test also with the Slack command, which looks like this. Okay, let's go back. Let's just check time. Yeah. And finally, how our release to production looks. So it's similar to the QA release, maybe even simpler. So again, we have Slack command, which triggers it. It force pushes the QA branch into the master branch. That triggers build, which builds the production app to generate changelog the same way. We are using not Firebase for distribution of the production builds, but Google Play internal test. And it will generate changelog similar to the QA app. And the last step, we actually want to do manually. Like we could also automate this, but we want like still the last click to do manually in a Play console. But it's really easy because it's already in the build is already in internal test, so we can move it to production manually we still want this final control over the release process. If there is some bug in the middle, we want to be in control. So I will just quickly show the code for deploying to master. So every push to master triggers this. This is all the same as the QA branch. I just want to highlight this. So there is already action written by somebody for uploading to Google Play. You just provide this service account JSON, and you provide which track you want to upload, and it will just upload it there. Really, really nice. You don't need to do this manually. It's really error prone if you do it manually. So this is our production release, and now I just want to, at the end, I want to give you some tips for development of the workflows, what I learned during developing this, because it's a lot of code and it's a little bit different from normal Android development. So if you can test something locally, do so. Like I try to separate all the logic into scripts, which I can launch locally. So I don't put that much into the actions. They are harder to test, so I try to separate it into like bash scripts or the Kotlin scripts, which I can test locally. It speeds things up. Also, you should test everything in a separate repo, because you need to create like testing commits, and like you don't want these testing commits to be in your like normal repo with your Android app. So create separate repo with some like fake app, and not just a repo, but create like different instance of Slack, JIRA, or like other third-party systems you have, so you don't spam like the real Slack with some testing messages and stuff like that. So like test everything in isolation. You can put all like configuration and all like API keys, certificates, stuff like that in GitHub Secrets. GitHub has this feature called Secrets where it's really safe, and also because you have configuration here, the same code will work on your testing repo and on your production repo. If you add this secret actions step debug through into GitHub, it will write more like debug information into the log, which really is useful for debugging problems. And to summarize, so GitHub Actions is really powerful and also inexpensive, mostly free for most of the use cases. If you use GitHub for your code, definitely use it. It's great. Bash scripts can really grow complex. Bash scripts are good for like simple scripts if you just want to chain multiple commands. But for anything more complex, use Kotlin script because you already know it from Android, and there are a lot of libraries you can use. As you saw, you can build really highly customized workflows for your project. I'm sure in your company it's something else, like you don't have QA branch and you are not using Slack, but something else. But there are actions for all of these third-party systems you can connect together. Yeah, plug in everything, automate everything, unless maybe the last step in Google Play, like clicking the publish button to production. I wouldn't automate this, but everything else, sure. And follow the tips on development from the previous slide. Okay, that was it from me, and now we can move to questions in Slido. Okay, so first questions is what advantages do you see compared to using Bitrise? So I haven't used Bitrise. I used Nevercode in a different project, which is I think similar. I think Bitrise has advantage like less configuration, like it will do more for you. Like the start will be easier. But the biggest advantage, I think, is the pricing. Like all the other CI/CD, I looked, like the pricing is quite expensive, especially if you are just like small developer or small company. And if you are using GitHub, you will save a lot of money. And another advantage, as I said, is the community actions. There are so many actions which you can use, which will simplify your coding. Okay, another, please share the GitHub link for this example. So I'm sorry, like this code is not open source, it's our app, so I cannot publish it, but like there will be a recording of this talk, so like what's in this talk can be published. Then Chris asks, what would you recommend when migrating an early build CI/CD to GitHub Actions? An already built. Yeah, so like you have some different CI/CD. So I don't think you should necessarily migrate. Like if it works for you and you are not paying too much money, then it's fine. But like if you want to migrate, like usually it's all the concepts are similar, right? Like it's running some scripts somewhere in the cloud. So I'm sure you can copy paste some part of the configuration to GitHub Actions. It shouldn't be that hard. Another question is, GitHub has images to run UI test. So like not GitHub itself, there is a third-party like action for running UI tests, and it has a limitation which it has to run on Mac instance. It cannot run on the Ubuntu instance, which sucks a little bit because the Mac instances are more expensive. I think like 10 times or 5 times, I'm not sure now, but it's more expensive. So like you will spend the minutes faster, and it's also slow. So it was motivation, first the cost and also the slowness to move into self-hosted runner for UI tests. Okay, Damian asks, which CI/CD is better, GitLabs or GitHub? We use GitLab. Yeah. So I think GitHub is better because they have more like they have more of the community actions. But like if you are already, or your code is in GitLab and you are happy with pipelines, I think it's fine. But like you say, you migrated everything from Bitbucket. So if you migrated everything, then yeah, try GitHub Actions. Chris asks, are you experiencing any issues with using actual devices rather than emulators? So this is more questions about the end-to-end tests. Well, yes, like it behaves differently, and like we have to modify the test for end-to-end tests. But actually, it's good because like we are it's more close to reality than the emulators. We are using the emulators for the screenshot test, for the snapshot tests. But for like end-to-end test, I mean, clicking on the app, we are using real devices in Firebase test lab. Best way to store release keys. So for the CI/CD, we are storing them into GitHub secrets. So it's really secure way how to store them. You can just like store them, but you cannot read them back. So even if somebody like has access to your GitHub repo, they cannot get the release keys. So this is my recommendation. Yeah, this question from Damian was already answered. And another anonymous asks, what decides on an up version, which version next release will use? How is version code generated? Okay, yeah, so we are using Git tags for like the first part of the version, like 1.0, and then like the last part of the version is the version code. And version code is simply a number of commits in a branch. That's it. So that's why we are also doing force pushes from like develop to QA, because we want the exact number of commits in develop and QA branch. So the version code is the same if it's built from the same code. So version code is number of commits. Okay, and Xiao asks, do you know how to automate the release notes on Google Play? Yeah, sure. So when we are publishing the build into Google Play, this action also has a parameter to upload release notes, and we upload there what like output of our changelog. So you can do that, but there is a character limit. Like we were struggling that there is character limit, which is just like 300 characters, which is not much. So we have to trim it, and usually then we edit it in Google Play Console to something more like readable for users, because like you don't want like a lot of technical stuff in the release notes. So you can do that, but usually this has to be done manually, like to be nice for the users. Chris asks, which API version are you targeting with your tests? I'm not sure which tests, like we have unit tests, snapshot tests, end-to-end tests. I don't know, for snapshot tests, we have to use API 27 because the library doesn't work on newer API. For the end-to-end test, we are using the latest, I don't know, 29, I think. Can we get the code samples? Sorry, only recording from this talk. How long did the automation take? Well, like it's continuous process. Like we are slowly improving. Like I don't think you should like work a month all of this, but like start small and expand it. So I don't know, the initial took like one sprint, but like we are slowly improving it. Like you don't need to have everything from the beginning. No sample. You said that you test your scripts in isolation. You have strategy test the whole workflow. So yeah, so like I try to test the scripts in isolation, and then I have a separate testing repository where I test the whole workflow. Yeah, you can test all the interactions together, and when it works there, then I copy pasted it to the real repository. And Mario asks, how long does the screenshot test taking? Any optimizations? Yeah, so the screenshot tests are quite fast. Like it's really taking like a minute. It's really fast because it will just like render the components. Like the screenshot tests are not taking screenshots of the whole screens, just like individual components in our app with some like fake data from the screenshot test. So it's really fast. It's more issue about like starting the emulator and stuff like that. But like once the emulator is running, it's really just like 1 minute. Yeah, I'm not sure if we have enough time, but yeah, let me keep answering. First was answered, second was answered, third. Do you know a best practice extra version of the app to use in the scripts? So I think I already answered that. Yeah, so we use the number of commits as the version code, and then we put this version code into the version name as well. Should I switch to GitHub Action when I already have Jenkins CI? So depends on you, right? Like if it works for you and like you have no issues and you don't have to pay a lot, then like stay with Jenkins. Like in GitHub Action can help you maybe build more complex stuff, as you saw in my presentation. Can you explain process of encrypting, uploading your key store, and signing files? Yeah, so there are these GitHub secrets where you can put anything, even like a file, but then like you need to save this secret on the disk when the action is running. So like I have a step which will just take this secret, create a file from it on a disk, and then it's used for signing the release builds. Have you used Bitbucket pipelines? Yes, I used it. It's quite fine. Yeah, they were earlier than GitHub, so a lot of people started using it. Nothing against it. Just if you are using GitHub, check out GitHub Actions. Last two questions. Are you doing snapshot testing if the PR is not affecting the UI layer? Yes, because like you never know what can affect the UI layer. Like right, the code, it can have some side effects. So we always do snapshot testing. But as I said, because we are running on our own like Mac Mini in the office, which has the Android emulator set up, so it just takes 1 minute. It's really fast. And last question, is the changelog generator Kotlin script open source? Thanks. It's not. Maybe I can put this, but like it's kind of like connected with our infrastructure. But yeah, maybe I can make like pieces of this open source. I'm glad you liked the talk. Okay, so that's all the questions, and goodbye.